Hello and welcome back to LEGO City Undercover. This is Bio Enchanted, and today we'll be exploring the airport. I quite like the airport, although it's fairly sprawling. It's got some interesting set pieces that I quite like, despite being fairly flat. So first let's explore this little restaurant area just south of it. I like that one. That's a very unique one for the astronaut thing to bring up with the extra table. Of course, we can't get up the easy way. That circle of studs really felt like it should have been something, but it's not. That does nothing. Yeah, annoyingly, even though you get up here, you can't really use that little door as a shortcut. Like, you can't open it at all, which is kind of a shame. It's just a static piece of the scenery. Right up here we do find our flowers, which is about the only major collectible in this area, really. It's a shame because it feels like there could be a lot more to do with it, especially with how some of the other character tokens are hidden in this area. It feels like this area could have been used to take out some of the fluff and move it over here instead to make it a little more engaging. But we have a lot of trouble here. There we are. Oops. Yeah, this is actually, from that chicken glide, we'll see something we should have been doing. Yeah, this chicken glide is how we were supposed to get to that billboard over there. The fact that you can easily get there from the highway is either just a secondary way of getting there or an oversight in game design. So that was an interesting little connection. I quite like when you find the extra connections like that between areas that are unnecessary but are more of a formal way of getting there. Of course, these stunt ramps are actually quite important because without some of these stunt ramps, the races are impossible. So without some of these stunt ramps, the races won't actually spawn. It's always best to build these just as and when you can, when you have the bricks for them. But I was saving them to this point because I wasn't really planning on doing the races until about now anyway, so it's just like, it would have been kind of irrelevant to the wasted studs that I wanted to save on the story to prevent having to grind them. I mean bricks, of course, you know. This is where we bought all of our stolen cars that went to the airport. All of one so far. Over here in the illegal area, we have an illegal alien. Let's take care of him, shall we? I kind of feel like if the game had a sequel rather than a prequel, the aliens probably would have had more of a... it would have been interesting to see what the aliens were actually doing here, that kind of thing. I would have liked to know that aspect of the world here. Like, why the aliens are here, that kind of thing. But it's irrelevant to the story of the Rex Fury stuff. It's really just there to give the astronauts something to do. It's kind of a shame they weren't prequel instead of sequel, because they could have elaborated on them, but yeah. I mean, they may have done the prequel, I never played it, but yeah. This is very actually well tucked away in this little corner. It can be very easy to miss that barbecue. I quite like all the little planes and everything like that. It's a neat little visual, and some of them are actually usable for platforming, for getting super bricks and stuff that are lying on the wings, which we'll see when we come to them. And that's a fairly neat little way of using, like that. That's a very neat way of using the environment. Like making them part of it instead of just set pieces. For some reason we get two super builds right next to each other. It's very, very, very rare it happens. Incredibly rare. Of course, loop-de-loop on a runway. Yeah, that can't possibly go wrong. That plane is definitely not going to have any trouble taking off, is it? No, we're not blocking anything here. This isn't going to cause a problem. This only helps planes take off, having to fight gravity even further. But who cares if it's bad for the pilots? It's good for us. And now let's do something utterly ridiculous with it by taking something that should not possibly go through a loop-de-loop, something ludicrously slow, and just make it happen, because why not? Just the absurdity of the whole thing, just a big truck like this, I think a luggage truck just doing a massive ramp around the loop-de-loop is always quite a funny thing. Those bounce mats I find kind of annoying if you're using other costumes, because any costumes that have a secondary thing, the B button can actually interfere with jumping on those, because you need to time the B button press to actually do the high bounce. But if you're the astronaut, that just means you'll accidentally power up the jetpack when not needing to, that kind of thing, and not use it properly as a result. Which is always frustrating when it happens, when you're doing like a timed free run or whatever, and it's like, oh come on, let me get up the thing, don't make me switch costumes, it's such a waste of time. Even if it only takes a second. It feels like a waste of time. At least it's a wasted button press. Before we follow the studs, let's see what's over here. This is really well hidden. That's just kind of mean, really. Putting it there. It's just kind of a dick move, honestly. Because the camera angles don't go around here, you can't see them from anywhere else but this camera angle. It's kind of absurd. Nothing up there, I like that little stumble, clumsy little loaf. So let's drill through the roof of an airport. What could possibly go wrong there? I mean, of course, that little trail as well shows you where the flowers are. Well, heck, that's even if you think to go left at the stud trail instead of following the stud trail. I always prefer to go up first with these kind of things, so that if they're the closest thing to go to and it's not too far out of the way. Like, this is right in the middle of the whole thing, so it feels easier to go up here first, then round the edge of this little area, and then climb the pipe to the final section of them. Helps keep track of them as well, which ones you've already broken, which ones you haven't. Oh, camera, help. Stop. That was awkward. I like that little crescendo there with the guitar there. That's a really good crescendo, that. And then the drums kick in and it just kind of completes that part of the song. It works really well. It's a very unusual sound as well, that guitar thing. Progression. Because what I was looking for was crescendo, I just lost it. I guess it fell between the couch cushions since I last used it. I quite like climbing the airport in general. It's an interesting kind of circuit situation we're going round. Also a cheeky little coffee break hiding on the roof here. On the rooftop like that, like coffee's going to get cold. Not a good place for it. There we go. And sometimes those jumps just don't quite work if you get a little bit caught in the geometry. That can be a little annoying. Much like this roll underneath this thing isn't working. Come on. I just wasn't in the right position. You have to be right in the middle of that one. It's really ridiculous how accurate you have to be there. I like that little hidden super big. That's kind of cute. Because you wouldn't really have any reason to go out the front of that. Screw it. Jetpack time. This is quite a neat super build that I quite like. Although it certainly raises a certain question. Why was that not already there? Have these planes been flying without control? Maybe that's why the planes haven't been moving. Maybe that's why the runway's been so underutilized. We can build a loop-to-loop on it. There hasn't been a control tower. They haven't been able to send the planes out. That's why Chase had to arrive on boat. Even though he probably could have afforded the plane, to be fair. It was like when you end up building the highest point in an area though, it's always a really satisfying thing. It was like combining the dance with falling off something, it always looks kind of fun to do that. Come on, Cat, we'll get to you, Cat. Calm down. I reject not making that. Just need a little more height. This feels kind of unnecessary, that particular field canister. Seems a little gratuitous, but I guess it's just making sure you get there. Yeah, the astronaut really has trouble with these blue strips, don't know why. A lot of the characters tend to. I always like when the physics hits a vehicle when you get kind of close to it after it spawns and it hasn't quite loaded the physics yet, so you see it bouncing like mad when you arrive there. It's a pretty amusing visual thing. So it's like with the helipad you saw on the rooftop there as well, where it was like, I think it started a little bit inside the roof of the building, and then when it actually spawned the actual helipad afterwards, it just replaced the model, so it was a little like jump when it landed there. This is a tricky kind of thing to get to. You have to find a very specific part of this fence you can get over because it's closing this entire section of grassland. But we do need to get back here, and we can't really easily get here from any other position on this area. This is actually really well hidden because of that. That's why, as you can see it from the main part of the airport, it's really close by, and by a very distinctive feature, this tunnel, but it's kind of tricky to find the right place to jump over to it. It feels like you have to do a bit of cheating at the geometry to get around this kind of thing like that. It feels a little like you have to be a little bit naughty. You're going to take routes like this through car parks and start sweeping the cameras because I'm looking for specific vehicles that are the racers. Generally, those are the only vehicles that are static and consistent with where they're placed. Everything else, it just randomly spawns vehicles as you approach a car park. If you see a new set of vehicles, it's like, nope, none of these are the one. Kind of like GTA rules with the whole camera back and forth thing to spawn new cars. It's a similar thing to that. Like, if you look, the cars were already starting to be a little bit different, I think. Just because by keeping memory, it's such a big game if you're not going to actually be looking at them. An interesting pattern of flowers there. We need to bear that pattern of colours in mind. Well, all we would do if we weren't using a super colour gun. That's why I like it. It allows you to completely bypass those kind of puzzles instead of making you have to go to every single colour gun thing in the game to find the right colour to come back and do this string of flowers here. Because of course each one has to be a completely different colour. I mean, happily they match the flower pots, but they could have easily not done that and been really annoying. I like getting the clown robbers specifically because it's their very memorable set piece from the very beginning of the game. So it feels good to actually fill out their roster and find out what they were called, their names, things like that. Being able to match the colour scheme to a face is fairly satisfying in that respect. There's really not a lot to this underpass, and these are really misleading, because you think you can just... but nope, the roof's in the way. I don't even know what those little things are for, if I just used them wrong. I probably just was meant to slide down them or something like that, but it's like... I'm not sure if it feels like kind of the game making fun of you a little bit. It's like, haha, made you think one thing when in fact it's something completely different. Those phones are really hard to find as well, because they're very small compared to the bins, and they're not particularly distinctive because they're just a small grey box, as opposed to the other bins which have like a specific colour scheme you can look out for and remember. Under these little standy things, it's really just studs, so we won't bother with those. We'll go on top of them instead, because that's where the real treasures lie. I like flying around the big airport sign as well. It's a pretty cool visual thing. And of course there's a cat in the LC part of the LC airport, so let's go take care of that, shall we? Cats do not belong at sea. Way slow on the uptake there, game. I do not need a jetpack tooltip. Well, that's how you're supposed to get up there as well, this little jet burst thing from the ground. Water jet thing. Also, I forgot this thing. Let's take care of that, shall we? Yeah, despite being right in front of the airport, because of the whole, again, the draw distance thing, these are actually kind of tricky to see at first if you don't already know they're there. Huh? Then again, because the airport's such a distinctive place, it's obvious you'd search around the front of it at some point, so you end up finding them fairly easily when you got around to that part. Those are weird because it looks like they should be yellow, but no, they're just fine. They don't do anything. They look unfinished though, which just bothers me. Because every other sign like that in the game is yellow.
She's really nice.
That'll be nice.
Kind of like Parking Lot 5, although it is something for visual, even though there's really nothing there. P5 is a nothing area, it's just a big expanse with just a few random cars to choose from, but there's actually nothing in there at all. No super builds at the end of it, hidden by the draw distance, nothing in the corner behind the cliffs or anything like that. It's just kind of filler as areas go, just a place to fill that part of the space. Like something that's not a roller coaster in Theme Park World, it's just there to add visual distinction to the park. I like how simple that red super brick is as well. I mean the red brick rather. Not going to bother with that because we can already see what's in there. It's just things for this puzzle. I also like with those kind of puzzles that each one is a different colour as well. That's kind of interesting. Quite like that spawns in that doorway. It gives the architecture of the level something to do beyond just looking nice, like having one of that be like a small cubby for a character token. Unfortunately, each one isn't for a different token because there's not enough of the character tokens of that type. But it would have been an interesting way to spawn them at least. To have, because it's like an airport terminal, it makes sense to be a lot of people coming in and out those doors, so it makes sense to get people from those doors as well. Why not? They're right here. We could still use the extra bricks. And I do like that all the planes are very distinctive models and everything. They're not just like a single generic model. There's a lot of different kinds of airplanes. It feels very, again, very genuine. Because there's, of course, there's a bunch of different models of vehicles around the area. All of them owned by different airlines and everything, of course, as well. It wouldn't make sense for them to be identical. But certainly, while the 747 Boeings are one of the most recognisable planes of the modern kind, I say modern, you know what I mean, the passenger planes, at least as far as I know anyway. I'm not sure, I don't really know much about planes in general. That's like the only one I really know, and that's why I think it's probably one of the more famous ones, because it's the one I actually know of. Beyond like the Spruce Goose and everything like that. Oh, that's something should have had actually, a Lego Spruce Goose in this kind of area. It would have been a really good super build to have. But unfortunately it was not to be. I like that statues of a big, of an old-timey aviator. That's cute. I'm kind of sad that that Lego Spruce Goose thing isn't a thing.
Maybe
I wonder how big it is.
It's starting to kind of double up on things. We've got the janitor and the cleaner. Cleaner's pretty much just an English janitor, really. Guess maybe cleaner deals with like spills and stuff like that, and janitor would deal with like tidying generally. Not really sure what the distinction would be in this case. With even this one, there might just be two different terms for the exact same job. Maybe just janitor has more responsibility than the cleaner, like beyond just cleaning stuff, like general maintenance and things like that. I think is generally the case. I think probably generally the distinction, but I'm not entirely certain. I've never been either, or spoken to either, so I don't really know the distinction between those two jobs. Although I have never spoken to them, but that's a lie. There's of course cleaners at work I've spoken to every now and then, but generally it's just like, you know what I mean. I haven't really had the chance to compare and contrast the jobs, is what I'm getting at there. I quite like this little car though. It's a neat little performance car. It's a fun little race. It's much better than a few of the later ones that will be coming up that I dislike because they're giving you a bad vehicle for them. But we'll get to that when we get to that. That feels kind of awkward because you have to kind of stop there, or else you have to like crash into a shed pretty much. And I quite like that this thing spawns just going to the wings of the planes. That's very cool to feel, a cool feeling to do that. And that's a pretty cool thing that it kind of, it implies loop-de-loop with the position of those. I don't think the car spawns until you build the loop-de-loop, but it looks like it could be feasibly possible to do the race without it. It just would be boring. So I know for certain the ramp is needed for that race, otherwise you'll be able to get over the highway. But the Goldbooks are actually closing on a new milestone now as well. Or 240.
What day is it?
Yeah.
This small building doesn't really have much to it. It's more of a set piece than an actual like gameplay thing. But it really only has that one gang fight inside it, and then this, and of course pasting the T-Rex in here as well. But that's more of an endpoint to a different mission, the mission in and of itself. The main problem I had with this one was finding where the car had spawned, so it's over there, way behind you, which is just cheeky, but luckily they're in a slow vehicle, so let's catch up with them, shall we? Even though they're going to go, according to my minimap, they actually go onto the highway here, which I need to kind of follow a bit of a knot to get on there, so let's get that done, shall we? And just try and hope that we get there before they get away. Because these kind of races where they go onto like these kind of unpredictable roads can be fairly tricky. Like if you don't know they're going to go to the highway, for example, they might go completely the wrong direction, they get completely screwed, because these tunnels are really hard to catch up with them in unless they get really bad traffic. Like we can barely see his little like marker through the wall here. I don't even know where he's going to end up going, but luckily he's slow, because he's in the big truck, which is very nice to give him to remember and not give him too much of a landing. So I'm able to catch up here, and he gets a bit stuck there as well, which is wonderful for me. I always enjoy when these kind of bigger vehicles get stuck, especially because they have much more health as well, so you have to hit them the extra time, which can be basically the difference between success and failure in these kind of missions, is having that one extra hit.
I am somewhere else I gotta be. Stop!
But luckily we're miles away from any kind of at least we're far enough away from any garages so we can easily catch up to him. That's the race I don't mind. Chase, rather. Now I've unlocked a garbage truck. Well, not a garbage truck, it's a moving truck, moving vehicle, like a UPS vehicle, I guess. I like the colour schemes of some of these planes and the specific logos they get as well. Finally, the last one of these. These, again, are very well hidden. If you're not approaching from a very specific angle, you'll most likely miss them. But it's quite fitting that character token spawns by the payphone, even if it is quite far away from all of them. Of course, we've only actually climbed about half the airport. We still have this leg to climb up as well. Well, not half, we've climbed most of it, but we didn't go on this particular small leg of the airport itself, which really contains a character token and a super brake, but it's nice that you can explore both branches of the building. Helps it feel more complete. I guess the first branch was the legislative branch, and this is the administrative. Don't know why I'm making American politics jokes, but yeah. I'd actually forgotten that character token was there, so I noticed it, and I was like, oh right, how do we get in there again? And then I kind of remembered it a little bit later. I was like, oh right, that. So let's make our way over there, shall we? All continuing to improve our stocks. And finally do this food one we've been kind of ignoring for a while now. I do like that the challenges have those little icons to show you what you get from them as well, like the little face and the gold brick thing. Kind of like those in the Spider-Man, some of the Spider-Man games where there's little, like the race challenges, for example in Ultimate Spider-Man, where they show you like the different medal times and everything. It feels kind of like that, but in this case it's not really got any specific medals or anything like that. You don't really have to do it in a specific skill level. You just need to do it before the time limit runs out, which is always fairly lenient. Part of the reason I'm getting the airport out of the way now is partly because of the whole clockwise thing I mentioned in the last video, but also because it's one of the least interesting areas of this island, so I kind of wanted to get it out of the way. Because the other areas are all fairly built up with massive interesting looking buildings, and this just has the one fairly interesting building, and everything else is just car parks. Here's just me picking this up, and then about here I think was how I remembered how you actually get into that small room for the final character token. So let's get over there and get that done. I like all the little billboards and everything like that. They're very colourful and very interesting. Of course, this was me, I think, looking for one last thing that I hadn't quite got yet. But that's because it's actually hidden in a fairly BS place, which we'll see right at the end of the video, because it's the last thing I got in this area. It's absolute nonsense. Because you just wouldn't think to look there for it, and it's such an out-of-the-way thing, and it doesn't give itself away like all the other versions of itself do. But we'll see that when we see it after getting back up on top of the airport. Like, it's so, like, obtusely hidden I had to actually look it up after I did this part. There's always been, like, one thing in a lot of these kind of areas in this game that I always have to kind of forget about where it ends up, where it's been, and look it up. Like the clown robber in Auburn Docks, that kind of thing. I got lucky with the little shop in Uptown, which was always the last thing of that was. That feels like a bit of a cop-out airline attendant too. I know it's two different skins of the same job, but still it feels a little bit cop-out-ish. But yeah, this is kind of BS, because it's not surrounded by buildings that you can see from a distance like every other one is. It's hidden right behind a pillar, where you just can't see it unless you actually come this far down. Because it's slightly smaller than the pillar, so from the road you just can't see this at all. It just looks like junk. But that's all that stuff got now. So that's the airport finally cleared, so I'll see you next time. Goodbye.